Seeing that it's 6 o'clock, call the March 21st, 2016 City Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnett,
Present.
Mr. Austin,
Here.
Mr. Abbott,
Yeah.
Mr. Alt,
Here.
Mr. Agers,
Here.
Mr. Fox,
Here.
Mr. Wertz.
Here.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Invocation of pledge, if you would, please, Mr. Austin.
Bow our heads, please. Lord, we give thanks today for all the blessings that we receive. Lord, we ask you to please be with our police and firemen around the city and around the world. Lord, we ask you, please be with each and every one of us. Please be with our armed forces wherever they might be and their families, Lord. And we ask this in your name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Announcements and public comments. Hearing none, move into consent agenda.
Motion to approve minutes from March 7th.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Austin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Old business.
Make a motion to read all under old business by title only.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Agers. All those in favor? These are all set for public hearing and adoption if you so choose this evening as well. First item is Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 1603, an additional appropriation ordinance for Park and Rec, from Park and Rec, capital and rainy day services. Mr. Warner, I know you heard or you experienced the presentation from a couple of weeks ago. Seeing if anyone has any questions, comments.
I can't believe how slow he took his time to come look at us for money.
I was trying to give you another presentation.
No, thank you.
All right. Thought you might say that.
Yeah. I got something I want to say, but first I want to go ahead and if nobody has any questions, just over here.
Get a call for
Yeah.
public, please.
Does anyone in the public have any questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll close public comment.
Anybody on council, any questions? Okay, if not, I'd like to make a motion to approve budgetary ordinance number 16-03.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Abbott. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, what I wanted to make a comment about, actually, Chief, I come and seen you, I know Mr. Fox come and seen you, we were talking about the trees that you had problems with, and we was curious, Mayor, what is that, the magic number that you have to have, and I should have got with you sooner, just slipped my mind, the magic number you have to have in the park fund to keep that 6 months. Whatever that number is, I know we're probably above that, but if we can do some exploratory and see what that magic number is, and then get some bids on the trees that are bad, and maybe go ahead and get the trees cut down out of another appropriation. Is that a possibility to take a look at and get that done?
Let's take a look at it. Like what trees?
The trees.
Ones that Chip proposed or
No.
everything?
Everything that's in the park and everything that's in the cemetery. I mean, get it done once and for all. I mean, it's something to look at. I'm not saying we want to do it. We need to get the price first of what that's going to cost. Did you have a chance to do any of that?
I did. We have the out and down. We have a pre-bid meeting on Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning. All the contractors that are interested in bidding on it.
And unfortunately, that number's gone up quite, number of trees.
Yeah, look, here's my concern, is that I don't think we're grasping what we're talking about. We're talking about just in the last week, we've identified 147 dead trees in Providence Park and the cemetery alone. My fear is that one of the reasons why I was conservative about the number that I gave you is because we're gonna get into the bidding laws of this thing's gonna be above $150,000, and then I'm gonna have to wait 30 days to advertise the bid, and then we have to take the lowest response, and that's gonna take 2 to 3 months to do, I would assume.
You blame it on the lawyer.
I am looking at them. If I can do it chunks at a time, then maybe I don't get into that situation. Or, maybe if I'm gonna do, I don't know what the number is, to be quite honest with you. I just know that there's 147 trees.
Since a week ago.
You just said a week ago?
But when I,
But they've identified.
it's easier for me to do it as they're starting to bud out now. I can see what's gonna bud out and what's not. There are 147 roughly that we've identified over the last week.
That's just two of your properties, that's not in.
That is correct, that's just two.
Has the arborist identified those?
They run a Davy tree report, some of them were already. I've talked to Jim Farr about looking at, the ones I've talked, I don't even need him to look at them, they're just completely dead. There's no question about this tree that's dead. They're that bad.
Is there a way to identify which trees are the highest risk factors?
Yeah, and how we're doing that is if it's next to a picnic site, if it's next to a playground, if it's next to the trail, those are gonna be our highest priority ones, obviously. Like for the cemetery, there are some dead ones along South Street. Those are gonna be some high priority ones at the cemetery.
And a tree came down in the cemetery last year and took out some monuments, and
Yeah.
we got to pay for those.
We had a large tree that fell down in the cemetery last year that wasn't even one, to be honest with you, it wasn't even one on our list. This was a live tree that came down and knocked over at least 12 months.
Well,
It's serious, I mean, it really is a serious issue.
of course, with the mayor's blessing, I would like for you to come back with some kind of a plan. This is what trees we have, and then if we can, like I said, ask the mayor and Ms. Rhodes, if we can get, what's that magic number in the park fund where we don't want to get below the threshold that we talked about last meeting, 6 months, I believe it was. And let's see where we're at. I mean, we may be able to do half of it, we may be able to do a quarter, we don't know what we can do until we get a,
Because we don't know the number yet.
yeah, but we need to get a plan.
And if we can break those out so that we know, I mean, and I'm sure you will, but just the trees that are riskiest, that we need to really address first. I think that's what we need to do. And if, like I said, if we can't do them all at once, which, I mean, I would love to just be able to do that, but we can't. Let's just chunk away at this thing big time and we get it done.
And I'd like to do what the way Chip said though too, is like in parcels.
Yeah.
And then get and that way we don't have to get into a bidding situation, we can just get it done, get it allocated.
Well, I think,
We can't do serial bidding to avoid the law. We would certainly not do that.
Right.
Well, did I say cereal?
No, you didn't, I just want to make sure.
All right, thank you.
there's a couple, yeah, that was kind of thrown on me, that's what my eyes kind of bugged in my head. There's a couple things that immediately pop out to me. One, I think it's gonna be difficult to find like a contractor that's gonna wanna tackle 147 plus trees. That's gonna dominate the first 2 or 3 months of their season, would be my guess. So they're gonna turn away business from maybe potentially new customers. In addition, I vividly remember North Main Street project when we went to remove the first couple of trees along that project and how the community reacted. And I remember the news cameras that were in my face when that occurred. And so I just want to bring that to everyone's attention that we go to remove 147 trees right away. Straw, we've been around long enough. You've seen the community react when we go to remove some trees. It's not pleasant.
The community has reacted violently to removing trees for the past 20-some years.
And I mean, there's a reason for it. I get it, particularly in this situation where they're dead or dying and potentially a safety hazard. And those are the ones we need. I like the priority list of those that are on the trail need to be removed, or next to a playground they need to be removed, and kind of do it in clusters, not to avoid bidding. I don't have a problem with the bidding. We do it frequently.
I don't think anybody can argue with removing dead trees.
Right.
Especially if they're safety hazard.
Exactly.
It's when we were removing the live trees, that's always been an issue. If we go to removing 147 trees at one time, Mr. Moody will probably be back down on us.
I'm out on that.
But if we've got this many, I can't help but feel that we could hire some part-time tree experts, rent equipment and do it ourselves cheaper, much cheaper. I would be willing to look into that.
You're out of my realm of expertise now. So,
I mean, we're talking a forest worth of trees. I didn't know there was that many trees in the park.
There is. The reason why I came to you so conservative is you're hearing that discussion, and some of these trees are clustered in 12s at a time in picnic areas. When I go and shave 12 trees off, you're gonna notice that, trust me. It's gonna be very noticeable that 147 trees will
Well,
be
my
gone.
point is,
Are we talking mature trees?
Oh, yeah.
my
You're
point,
talking, some of these trees are 70 feet tall, and they're huge.
can't you notice they're dead? I mean, that's my point, are they dead, or we don't want to cut down?
There's no question about these trees are dead. And I'm not an arborist, and I can figure that out.
And they just die? I mean.
A lot of them are ash trees, from the Zimmerwald ash borer and all this stuff. I mean, I would say that 90% of these trees are ash trees. I'll take you on a great tour. I mean, it's eye-opening, let me tell you. It really is.
Is the state doing anything to help communities with?
Other than telling you not to carry your firewood across county lines.
Well, yeah.
And we're past that point.
You know,
You could have injected in 10
you're
years.
generally talking a couple $1,000s a tree for a mature tree.
I've taken down a tree in the cemetery last year that was maybe 50 feet tall. It was $3,300 for one tree.
So we're talking a substantial amount of money.
That's why I try to be so conservative about it. Even 2,000 a tree at 147, you know.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a
The
copy of
math
this
is
scale
not-
because there's a large number as opposed to one,
Right.
but
Getting the trees off the paths and the places where people are bicycling, walking, picnicking, I mean, to me, it's common sense. If they're dead and they're falling down, they're gonna hurt somebody or kill a child, they need to come out, regardless of how much or figure out the cost. If it needs to come out, we need to get them out.
I would love to take anybody who wants to come on a tour. Like I said, it's very eye-opening that we can stand in one section of the park and never leave this one area. And you're gonna count your fingers and toes. And never move from your original spot.
Take care of
Thanks, guys.
thank you. Next is Common Council Budgetary Ordinance 1604, an additional appropriation ordinance for grants, police supplies. Chief O'Sullivan, as was presented a couple weeks ago, this is received, what was it, $1,600 grant? Is that ballpark? $1,300. Okay, I was giving $300 more. And that was from drug-free Johnson County?
Correct, sir. And we're going to be buying recording devices with the monies.
Narcotics.
Correct.
Which, by the way, have been working a lot lately, so hats off to them, I appreciate it. Yeah, is anyone from the public have any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll close that. Council comments?
Make a motion to approve budgetary ordinance number 16-04.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Works. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You were already in the minutes. Your motion, your second earlier. Common Council Ordinance 1602, an ordinance authorizing the clerk treasurer of the city of Franklin, Indiana to deposit, invest, and reinvest funds in local financial institutions designated as depositories. Ms. Rhodes, and this was presented a couple of weeks ago as well.
Correct, you know, I was not here, but it is just a basic housekeeping thing that we are required to do.
They went ahead and denied your request
Did they?
because you're absent, yeah.
So I could sign a check, so.
Open this up for public comment. Hearing none, we'll close the public comments. Council?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 16-02.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Eggers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is Common Council Ordinance 1603, an ordinance of the City of Franklin determining the materiality threshold for reporting irregular variances, losses, shortages, and thefts. Open up for public comment from anyone? Hearing none, we'll close that. Ms. Gray, you have anything to add?
I don't have anything more to add. Sets the materiality threshold for us reporting to the state board of accounts.
You said it at 500, correct?
I did.
Move to approve 1603.
Second.
Motion by Austin, second by Barnett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Common Council Ordinance 1604, an ordinance of the City of Franklin adopting uniform internal control standards for Indiana political subdivisions. Open up for public comment. Hearing none. Ms. Grady, anything to add?
Only that the clerk treasurer and I have been working together to get the internal controls at each office that handles money. And so we will be doing a training after you take action on this. Also, I would encourage all council members to review the State Board of Accounts website. It takes a little while to read it, but you are personally responsible should there be any errors in this, and you know or have reason to know. So just for education purposes, I would again encourage you to look at the website that's cited in the actual ordinance itself as to why internal controls and not internal controls.
Move to approve council ordinance number 1604.
Second.
Motion by Hager, second by Fox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. New business.
Make a motion to read by title only, all other new business.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Abbott. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. First item, Common Council Resolution 1607, final action determining economic revitalization area and confirming Resolution 1606. Ms. Lincoln, this is a resolution, by the way, so and we approved tonight, so. Ms. Lincoln.
Good evening. This is your confirming resolution for the economic revitalization area that we discussed at your last meeting for Fisher Contracting. This is the second step in a three-step process. It was introduced at your last meeting. The public notice was published, and then this would be the confirming resolution. The next resolution on your agenda would actually grant the tax abatement. So just to kind of refresh your memory, this is for a real property abatement. Was recommended 5 years by the EDC with a 5% economic development fee, and the property is located at 3031 Hudson Street.
Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 16-07.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Austin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next is Common Council Resolution 1608, a resolution granting tax abatement for Fisher Contracting LLC. Ms. Lincoln?
So this is the actual tax abatement resolution. We used to put these, combine these together. We've since separated them out. Sometimes we have different property owners from real property or personal property. It's also a lot easier to track resolution numbers versus the economic revitalization area. So while they are one and the same, it is a separate resolution and requires a separate vote.
Council comments or questions?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 16-08.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Abbott. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is Common Council Ordinance 1605, an ordinance clarifying the City of Franklin Employee Handbook and amending by interlineation. Ms. Gray?
Yes, I would ask the council to consider tonight adopting this on first reading. Its intent is simple. After you adopted the employee handbook last year, Chief Lascelles brought to my attention that the fire department the police department rules and regulations with regard to sick hours are 72 hours. In the adopted handbook, we had 92. I can tell you the source of that was previously police officers were granted 8 days of sick leave at 9 hours per day. If you take 8 times 9, that is 72 hours. When they went to 12-hour shifts, if you take 8 times 12, that is not 72 hours. And so it is a mathematical calculation error. Adopting this by interlineation to our employee handbook will be in accordance with what is actually the rules and regulations. And it would also be consistent with what we do with the police and the fire as well. So if you are so inclined by motion, unanimous motion, you may adopt this on first reading. That is the only change to the employee handbook. And then if that passes, then the employee has to pass the ordinance as well.
Lynn, what was it that you mentioned in the Board of Works meeting about a word.
While I was doing that, I read the handbook for about 15 times, and one of the titles in the handbook that dealt with the use of a city vehicle, actually only the content, the substance of it, talked about use of a city vehicle, but the title said use of the city.
Is this
It had
incorporated
vehicle,
into
it's
this?
also in there. I was not going to bring it back, but since I was already here for the 72 hours, I put that in there as well. But that, yes, sir, that is the other item.
I would make a motion that we pass ordinance number 16-05 on first reading.
Do we have to suspend the rules? Yes.
I got to say suspend this. Okay, I will make a motion that we suspend the rules for ordinance number 1605.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Eggers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And since it is an ordinance and you're going to make an attempt to pass it this evening, we'll open it for public comment. Hearing none, we'll close public comments.
I will make a motion to approve ordinance number 16-05.
Second. Motion by Barnett, second by Adam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is request approval of yearly tax abatement compliance reports.
You should have received copies of each of the compliance memos for each of these companies. Is the first of many more to come to you, unfortunately. And along with a draft of the meeting minutes, there was one case that was reviewed that was tabled for some additional clarification, but the rest of these are ready for your review. And I would ask for you to approve these. That is the recommendation of the Economic Development Commission.
Can't this be done all at once?
They can't, can they?
I think we normally do.
Yes, we normally.
If you have questions on any individual one, I'm happy to answer those. We do spend a considerable amount of time on these at the Economic Development Commission. There are a lot of questions and a lot of those are clarified for you in the minutes from those meetings. We have like 48 of these this year, so I'm trying to weed some out that might be expired and I can cross those off the list, but this is forewarning.
I would make a motion to approve the yearly tax abatement compliance reports presented.
Second.
Motion by Word, second by Austin. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Other business? This is now a statute, right? We must present this annual report of the Franklin Redevelopment Commission.
That's correct, yes. Yes. So each year we do this, the report of the redevelopment commission to the city council. It's basically a synopsis of every action that the redevelopment commission took in the previous year and who the members were, fund balances, resolutions that were approved, what was actually approved, what was spent, and then there's a list of, for each resolution, which is how we appropriate funds through the redevelopment commission. There's a brief explanation for each of those resolutions and what they're for. And then if there's any recipients of loans, grants, or property, there's also a section for those, and those are listed there. It also identifies which fund those dollars were paid out of. So you can see we have several different funds in the redevelopment commission. And then there's also the last section is the cash on hand at the close of the year. So you have the beginning balances and then the close of the year balances, and you'll notice the one addition, well, actually two on page 6, we have approved the TIF bond in 2015. So in addition to your 311, 399 funds, there's those investments, and then there's also the 2015 TIF revenue bond, and then we're also required to create a bond reserve account. Those two were added to that. So the total amounts of funds on hand, including that bond at the end of the year, was $20,105,092.81. There's a list of projects, the back, properties owned by the RDC, and then other projects that began last year that have continued into this year. One of those being noted as the creation of the new TIF district on US 31. That declaratory resolution was actually approved in December, and that has not been final approval by the RDC. That should take place in April. And then just some of the other matters that we monitored, some of the other projects that had continued from the previous year. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on this, and I'll work with Jane to get this submitted to the state as well.
It was,
But,
I was just gonna say, it was a busy year for the RDC, and I will make a motion to approve the annual activity report for 2015.
second.
Motion by Word, second by Lawson. All in favor?
Aye.
Christie?
It's a nice report, thank you.
Thank you.
No other business? Any council member comments? If not,
I have no question.
to adjourn.
I have some comments. There will be a special meeting of the RDC tomorrow at 8 a.m. The main item on the agenda is the South Downtown redevelopment. I gave each of the council members TIF bond funds pledge that the RDC is funding, and also the Bemis description of the project that they would be doing. Secondly, in April at our meeting, we will be bringing up for discussion the Shell building, just so that you have that information to think about. And if you have any comments, if you'd let Keith or myself know.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
One thing I got, and I've been asked by some council members about our street program, paving program, alley program. As the mayor stated earlier, legislation has granted us some funds this year to put back into streets and infrastructure. So we're moving forward, city engineers moving forward, getting a bid process going. So
Think it'll be mid-August, or
Uh,
we'll start?
No, I think he will start, he's working to get the bids out rather soon this year. Sooner this year. Plus, some of the work that was left from last year. I know that O'Mara's moving into town and they're gonna finish that up. And Travis's thought is to try to get the bids out soon. They'll be in town and maybe they can give us a good price. There'll be several bidders, but if you're already here, that only makes sense that they would try to sharpen their pencil a little bit. So I think Travis is thinking in the right direction to try to get a good bid.
Just an update, King Street from the speed hump east to Forsyth, you'll start to see the signs going in place this week. The closure on or after is, right now, is anticipated to be April 4th. And that'll take 60 to 90 days for reconstruction, sidewalks, all of that. Open bids on the big King Street project, out by the interstate, the gateway, and all of those. Bid opening will be April 1st. And then we can hopefully get that project awarded, get the contract put together and awarded by the April 18th Board of Works meeting, and then sign the notice to proceed and allow them to, whoever the contractor would be, to mobilize and work.
Mayor, those bids going out in sections as per, or is it going out total?
That one is from Milford, essentially, by the First National Bank, east to the interstate. In that general area. That's that section. So the big project will go out as one big project, and that's not ready yet. Anticipated that project would start in downtown on Jefferson Street, around Main, west to Paris Service Center, and August. Would be good.
Gotta head out parade route.
We're gonna run all over the place in Oldwood Farms.
There you go.
Line 'em up. Any other comments?
Second Drew's motion to adjourn.
Motion by Agger, second by Barnett. All those in favor?
Aye.